Hi everybody, it's Justin from Mini Man Bassing. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to find bass using your fish finder. It's really going to focus on a 2D and down scan unit. I'm not going to incorporate like side scan or panoramic view or total scan or anything like that. It's just your basic sonar. I'm really going to talk about like what part of the lakes you're going to go to. If you want a step-by-step guide of how to read sonar and what your frequencies are doing and what your settings are doing, you check the description box. I made a video called How to Use the Fish Finder. You can check that video if you want to learn how to like read sonar and what your frequencies are doing. But this one is just focusing on where to go on the lake and start paying attention to your fish finder. And how to, I am going to talk a little bit about how to read your graph and what the bass will look like and where you can kind of usually expect to find them. So if you're new to the channel, I do product reviews, fishing adventures, and how-to videos that all revolve around bass fishing in the Northeast. I'd love to have you as a sub. It really mean the world to me. I'm starting to have a lot of fun with YouTube. It's been a lot of fun. So it really mean the world to me if you subscribe. But let's get into the video. I'm going to start with a topographical map, lake contours, contour depth chart of a lake that I fished just the other day. Well, I'll start there and I'll show you like what sort of areas you can start looking at your fish finder. You can cover a lot of ground and hopefully catch more bass efficiently. So we'll start there. I'm going to switch camera angles. It'll be probably on the desktop view. All right. This is a contour map of Square Pond that I fished quite a bit 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but I haven't fished much lately. But it's an excellent representation of what you should be, like this is the type of stuff you want to use your fish finder for, right? You have these changes of depth. Sorry, I'm looking at my screen while watching the video play, but you have these changes of depth that you really want to focus on. The color scale goes from dark blue to white as you go higher in elevation. So dark blue is the deepest, white is the highest. You don't really want to focus, like when you're using your down scan, your sonar, you don't really want to focus on the dark blue stuff. That's the mainland floor. You don't usually find bass there. Bass relate a lot to changes in elevation. So we have these inclines and declines, and then structure and cover on those inclines and declines, or right above or right below on the main lake floor. That's really where you're going to want to spend your time looking for bass on your sonar. Now, I did some color coding. The red, the dark ovals, you don't want to, you're wasting your time. It's not that you can't find a bass on the main lake floor, but you just usually don't. The red areas are the areas you want to look at generally. And then the yellow circles are places you really want to pay attention to. Any point, any ridge, any hump, any point, ridges, contour, sharp contour changes. You want to look at those. Bass are set up there a lot. And then not only that area, but look for the structure and cover on that area. You might have to fish different strategies. Like if there's no wind or you have spot lock, you could just do drop shot usually and be effective, or a jig, right? But like the other day I went out and I couldn't drop shot because I was getting blown off, so I ended up cranking. But I have to position my boat to fish. Like if I'm looking at one of those yellow circles and I want to fish that area, I've got to position my boat to bring my lure through those strike zones, through the the general area, hoping that, if you can find the structure, that's awesome. You position your boat and you do your best to fish that structure and bring your lure through the bait through that strike zone. Grass, if there's grass in the area, if it's tall grass, there could be bass in there. It's hard to see, but you really never want to pass on grass, man. Like that's I actually stole that from Carl Plonka on Extreme Angler, but you want to fish the grass. Even if you can't see bass on your radar, you want to slow down, especially if it's on an incline and there's structure and boulders around. Now this is that hump. It's the same map. I've just focused on the hump, centralized the hump, right? The red circle, I'm going to show you a clip of when I was out the other day. Somewhere in that red circle about that general area is where I found a bass, and you're going to see it in the clip, and I have the image of it. But I couldn't drop shot it, so I had to reposition my boat on top of the hill and cast out to that direction.
There's the structure. And that's the bass.
Is right here's the fish finder I was using that day. The top screen's my 2D sonar, the bottom screen's my down scan. If you look at the red circles, the yellow blob is the bass. On the top screen, if you look at the red circle, the yellow blob's the bass. If you look on the bottom, there's like a little white grain of rice. It's hard to see, but that's confirming that that's a bass, right? It's separated from the ground. It's a little circle. Okay. And now the blue circles, right? That is what I'm pretty sure is structure. That's like a little rock or something that they're hanging out next to. And then you can see it more closely on the down scan on the bottom screen there. You can see it. It could be baitfish that they pinned up on the floor, but I'm pretty sure it's structure, right? And it's on that decline. Okay, so that's actually a really cool shot. I wanted to show that to you. Yeah, I mean, again, I can't like stress enough the importance of being somewhere near using your fish finder and paying attention to changes of depth, right, and elevation. And you usually don't want to be too far out on the main lake floor, but you can go all the way up the shore and fish the structure and cover on top.
Got another one. I didn't even know I had one. Just felt this real slight tick. Another good smallmouth. Oh! Another good smallmouth. Another one, same technique, good sized smallmouth. Just on that hump, I knew they were there with the clear view, the Striker Plus, and drop shot wasn't working, so I was just cranking deep. It's a nice bass, man. It's another nice, healthy smallmouth. You are gorgeous. Green eyes gonna miss ya.
Here you can see on the middle screen, right on my sonar, that's my 2D, you can see an arc, whatever. But if you look over to the right on the down scan, there's a little white grain, like looks like a grain of rice. Okay, that's confirming that that's a bass, not a leaf or something. You know, it could be anything. When your boat's moving, you really want to try and confirm it with your down scan. And he's on, if you now look at the down scan, right? Below the fish, it looks like there's two little rocks. So he's hanging out, he's relating to that structure, those rocks, right? But it's so funny because when I was fishing this, I was like, what is this guy doing? And I'm kind of out on the main lake floor. I'll show you in the next image that's coming up here in a second. But I was like, what is going on? This guy's out in the middle of, you know, he's kind of far off on the floor. I haven't really seen fish out this far. I'm like, what is he doing just hanging out all alone here? And just, you'll see in the next photo, just keep in mind, I'm approaching that hump. That same hump that I've been talking about all video. I'm getting there, right? Like I'm on my way to that hump. But it was a little ways out. And then you'll see here, if you look at the red circle, that's that hump, right? It's hard to make out on my map. But so you can see these bait fish here, and I only drifted a little ways from that bass you just saw on the last screen. And I can see they're just slamming these bait fish, right? They're taking the bait fish and they're corralling it up to that hump. Bass love to take bait fish and pin them up against dead contour change. So you really want to, as you're approaching a change in contour depth, you really want to start looking for structure and cover, right? Grass and hard surfaces, whether it's timber, boulders, tires, cinder blocks, whatever, laydowns, timber down there. Usually you don't find laydowns. I guess you could find a laydown in the middle of the lake, but and the other thing also is a lot of times bass won't, if you find them not near structure and cover, sometimes they don't strike. So sometimes when you're like, you find the bass, right, and they're not biting, look for the structure and then fish that structure, because they'll eat their food up on against that structure. So that a lot of times they want you to bring that lure right to the structure. Here is a great picture that just demonstrates everything I've tried to articulate. You have your change in elevation, and the numbers 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 are a bass, and I know that because if I look to the right on my down scan, I can see that there's separation between the 2 dots and the ground. But number 3 is a rock, and I know, or some type of hard structure, because I know that because if I look on my down scan, there's no separation between the circle and the ground, so it's attached to the ground. So I just thought it's a wonderful picture where you have a change in elevation, bass are hanging out on it, and they're very close to that structure. And I did fish that area, and here's the picture of the fish. I didn't have it on film because I wasn't rolling. And that's about it. That's like all. I don't want to go on forever and talk about this, but just remember, when you're using your image, your unit, your fish finder unit, you want to, and your boat's moving, you want to use your down scan to confirm your sonar. And when your boat's not moving, you can use just your 2D. Like a lot of times your down scan won't even help you. It'll look like a big streak running across your screen if your boat's not moving. Like if there's no wind and you're not drifting, you're drifting very, very slightly, you'll see these little yellow and orange, or depending on what color you have, but on a standard, usually on a default palette, it's yellow and orange. You'll see it streak across your sonar. But that's it. So that's the video. I hope it gave you a good perspective. One of the reasons I made this video is because I know people that have fish finders and they spend money on them and they have no idea how to use them. And a lot of that is because the fish finding companies, I don't feel like they do a very good job of explaining this type of stuff. If you follow my advice, I think you're going to find you'll put a lot more bass in the boat. So thanks for watching. I hope it helped. I hope it gave you good perspective. I'd love to have you as a sub. And I hope you have a great summer. I hope you're catching a lot of bass, man. And just have a good time fishing. I hope you catch a really big bass soon. Thanks. Bye.